Okay. All right. We are officially recording now. And great to have everyone here as a part of the session. Those that are live, great. Happy to have you here. Those that are watching this on replay, happy to have you here as well. So, of course, there, as you see, that is me, Vernon Wright, part of Global EdTech Academy. Connect, learn, and share. So honored to be a part of what Microsoft, EDU, and Q have come together to create and to do. This is wonderful. Reflections of a Leader series, the one. That's what we're talking about here today is the one. And very, very excited, as I have been, very much so, to have shared all of the previous sessions with you. I guess you would call them installments in a series, episodes, if you will, in the Reflections of a Leader series. Today is called simply The One. And we're going to talk about what that means, give it some context, and talk about why that's important, kind of what that is, obviously, and what are some things that maybe we can keep in mind as we go forward to take action and actually live that out. Of course, you see there at the bottom of your screen, it says Reflections of a Leader Series, q.org/Microsoft, not only to find out more about yours truly, the person that is so honored and humbled and grateful to be able to share with you today, but really to learn about the rest of the speakers as well that are a part of this phenomenal, fabulous Global EdTech Academy, again, made possible by Q and Microsoft EDU. You see the hashtags there on the right-hand side of the little box down there at the bottom. This says hashtag GETA, hashtag Microsoft EDU, and hashtag We Are Q. Yeah, those hashtags will go ahead and connect you with the sessions that we have talked about before on social media. So this moment in history for our nation and for our world, I always like to go ahead and share this and talk about this as we begin any time of learning. And really, it's my opportunity to really express my gratitude and my thanks to Microsoft EDU and to Q Inc. for their global commitment to equity and to developing educators worldwide. This Global EdTech Academy is just that. It is global. And I'm absolutely honored and humbled and grateful to be a part of it, along with the full roster of phenomenal speakers that are here as a part of this. And again, you see the hashtags down there at the bottom in q.org/Microsoft. So, of course, that's me. For those watching that may not be familiar with me, I'm Vernon Wright. Hashtag, I should say hashtag @ right? We just got through talking about hashtags. We'll talk about those here in just a few moments as well. @ the right leader. That's how you can find me on Twitter, on social media. @ the right leader. And of course, as we'll be going through the sessions today, if you'd like to go ahead and share out and say, you know what, Vernon, there are some things that were profoundly positive to me, whether you're with us here live in the session or whether you're watching this on replay. Either way, if there are some things that have been profoundly positive to you and you just feel like, you know what, Vernon, I am compelled to really share this with someone else. I want them to have that same epiphany that I had when I was going through the session, again, whether live or through replay. Here's what we'd ask for you to do. I would be honored, would be humbled, and would love to see you tweet out those profoundly positive things with the hashtags Microsoft EDU and GETA, as well as We Are Q, and of course, tag me on it @ the right leader again. Right. Okay. Would love to have you follow me on Twitter and be a part of my PLN. I would love to be a part of yours as well. So who is Vernon Wright? I just want to go ahead and share this with you. For those of you that may not be familiar with me, founder of Zero Apology Zone, an online apparel website that is really focused on how we can go ahead and live out a positive message and a message of advocacy through apparel. And I am absolutely honored to be the person that founded that created that, and very, very grateful for all the opportunities that has brought. And I'm grateful for all of the opportunities that it will bring in the future. Entrepreneur, of course, we talked a little bit about that already. Speaker, consultant, performance coach, and leader. I am humbled to have had all of the opportunities that I've had before in the past, and those in the future as well, to really reach people and make an impact. I'm humbled and honored. People often ask me, you know, Vernon, what is it that you do? It seems like you're in a lot of different spaces and you're trying to help people in a lot of different ways. And succinctly, I share this, which of course you see down there at the bottom of your screen. I help leaders to increase their understanding of organizational dynamics. How many of you know that in every organization there are dynamics? So they can leverage talents and together as a team achieve the extraordinary through synergy. And how many of you know, watching us, whether you're with us here live or on the replay, that anytime you're trying to achieve the extraordinary, there has to be synergy. There has to be. All right. So let's move forward. All right. The 5 R's of effective instruction. This is really the cornerstone series that kicked off everything within the Reflection of a Leader series. This series, if you've not had a chance to watch it, go back, check it out. I'll share some information with you here in a second in terms of how you can access that prior time of sharing. But this one is good. This is really where it all started. This was the genesis, real, relevant, rigorous, reflective, and refined. The Reflection of a Leader series, as you see there on your screen. Transforming practices starts with heart. What relevance do you have as a leader? Addition by subtraction, stand by me, and more. Those were all previous sessions and times of sharing that we had together. Great sessions, great times. If you were not present or were not able to connect with those at the time that we were having those, that's okay. Q and Microsoft EDU, we've got you covered. Just go to, as you see there, q.org/GETA recording. There you can watch all of the episodes in the installments in this series, and you can get caught up. And if you watched them before, you've been present in those sessions before, you can watch them again and renew that learning. And sometimes, how many of you know, when you go through a learning experience the second time or thereafter, you learn even more things. And so certainly that is available to you. Again, thank you to Microsoft EDU and Q Inc. for making those previous times of sharing and learning available to us all. So are you a coffee or tea person? I love sharing this question. Shared that in a session that I had yesterday. It's just a really great way for us to go ahead and open up and talk about our preferences and to really express that. What's your favorite beverage to have on the way to work or at work? If you'd like to go ahead and drop that in the chat, that would be good. I will tell you, for me personally, one of my favorites, particularly, is just either spring water or sparkling water. Yeah, it looks like we've got a coffee drinker here in the house. Yes, coffee is good too. As I shared in a session yesterday, a previous session, which was the Stand By Me session. And again, if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and go to q.org/Microsoft. You see it down there at the bottom of your screen, and you can find out information on how to connect with that session and see other sessions that are scheduled. But in that session, I was sharing that when I'm out at restaurants, I like to drink unsweetened tea. But at home, typically spring water or sparkling water. Yes, coffee with nothing in it there in the chat as well. That's great. Good stuff. All right. So what are some of the favorite Microsoft apps really that you use on a daily basis? They enhance your daily endeavors. I like to share this at the beginning of each session because really it's Microsoft that is making this possible, along with partnership with Q. And you know, it's really an opportunity for us to really stop and really think about, you know, what are all of the tools that Microsoft makes available to us every day that we're able to use. And some of them are at zero cost to us. And just really, really, really grateful for the opportunity to really share about those. Of course, you see some of those there at the top. One of the ones that I use daily is OneDrive, of course, Teams. Microsoft Teams, as it shows there, nothing can stop a team. With Teams, of course, that's what I'm sharing this information with you through. That's the avenue or channel. Microsoft To Do, this is a sleeper app. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of people that do not know about this app. I encourage you to go out there and check out Microsoft To Do. I have it on all of my devices, syncs across all of them. So I always have my to-do list, regardless of what device I have access to at the moment. Great, great, great application. Check it out, Microsoft To Do. A lot of different options in terms of how you can organize your to-do list. It's great. Just integrates very well with the whole Microsoft suite. Mile IQ. I bet some of you that are watching this that maybe have used Mile IQ before, or maybe you've heard about it and you've maybe used another application for tracking your mileage for whatever reasons you track those for. I bet you didn't know that that was part of the Microsoft family. I've used Mile IQ before. Great application, great product, lots of great features. And so I just encourage you, if you haven't before, check out Mile IQ. It is indeed part of the Microsoft family. So we always start out each session as we get ready to delve into the learning for today. And I just want to say this again, whether you're live with me in this session or you're watching on replay, how absolutely honored and humbled I am to have you here with us today. It means so much to me. It really does, because you could be anywhere, you could be doing anything. And there are a lot of options that are out there with professional development, right? I'm just going to be totally authentic with you when I say that, but you chose to be here and engage in this space, and I thank you. And so you need to know that before we go any further in this session. And so with a guiding question, one of the reasons why I like guiding questions is because they do just that. They guide our thinking, right? So let's start out with this guiding question. It's one that I like to share at the beginning of every session. How can we use innovation and empowerment? Those are two strong words there, innovation and empowerment, in our roles to advance student achievement. How can we use innovation and empowerment? And so I really like using that guiding questioning because it gives us a lens through which to look through as we go through the time of learning today. Here's one that is an interesting one you may not have thought about, but it's true. Just one idea can be the game changer. It can change your leadership, your impact, and your life forever. Just one idea. And I really like this graphic because, in life, we are walking by maybe many light bulb moments, right? Where the light bulb really connects for us, or where it could connect for us. But whatever the reason is, wherever it is, we have those moments where out of all of the light bulbs, there's one light bulb that really is indeed that moment of epiphany that really makes the connection for us. And so just one idea. Remember that as we go through this today. Again, if you're watching live or if you're watching this on the replay, just one idea can be the game changer. When is the time that one idea made a difference and was a game changer in your life? If you'd like to go ahead and type that in the chat, that would be great. Thank you to those that are here on the session. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. When is a time that one idea made a difference and was a game changer in your life? If you want to go ahead and type that in the chat, that would be great. As you're thinking about that and typing that, I will share with you a time, and I shared this in a previous session, that one idea was really a game changer for me. And many years ago, when I was an administrative intern, a leadership intern, I was in graduate school back then. I had one of my mentors, really my main mentor, leadership-wise, that shared with me. He said, Vernon, one of the best pieces of advice I could give to you is to become a master storyteller. And I really understood maybe a little bit of that at the time, right? But how many of you know that when learning is imparted unto you and it is shared with you, when you mix with that, right? I say mix in quotes. When you mix with that or blend or combine with that some experience, you really see the deeper parts of that learning and the understanding of it. And I've understood very much so from that time many years ago up until now, the power of being able to tell stories and how stories can bring people together. And so it's absolutely powerful. One idea, again, remember, as we're going through here today, and of course, I know that you're taking notes, whether it's low tech, paper, pencil, pen, paper, or whether it's high tech, you're taking notes on a device, whatever the device is, cell phone, laptop, tablet, what have you. Remember, one idea can be the game changer in your life. So 3 high impact levers for teaching and leadership. Always like to go ahead and share those. Number 1, competence. If you've been with me before, you've seen these 3. Number 2 is communication. And let me go back and say something real quick about competence. It's really a challenge to have confidence in someone if you do not believe that they are competent. And so one of the ways that we instill and build and cultivate confidence in people is by demonstrating competence. Communication, of course, how many of you know there are many different forms of communication? One that we don't think about as much, but it's a significant one, is nonverbal communication. That one is big. Number three, connection. We need to make a connection with people, right? Absolutely, we do. So competence, communication, connection, if you're taking notes there. So let's go and go to the next one. And it's the same three, but with a twist. Let's take a look at what that is. So number one is connection, authentic and aligned. Now notice what I did there. I shared connection with you on the slide before, right? But notice when I got to this slide, I shared connection with you again, but I provided additional detail, right? To give you more clarity and to give you more specifics with it. So authentic, it must be real. We must make a real connection with people from heart to heart. Aligned, it needs to be aligned with what we're all trying to do. That's one of the reasons that connection, when it is authentic and it is aligned, that it's so powerful. Yeah, I could talk about that for a long time, but we have time constraints and there's other information that I'm absolutely excited to share with you today, again, here in this session, simply called The One, the Reflection of a Leader series. Number two is impact. We absolutely have to be able to make an impact. People have asked me many times before, Vernon, what does impact mean? And simply I have said this. This is the @ the Right Leader translation, right? Which really is this. Anytime we are helping and assisting other people to achieve their goals, dreams, desires, and outcomes that they wish to obtain and to see happen, anytime we're a part of assisting with that coming to fruition, we've added value, and adding value is having an impact. And so if you've ever done that, or someone's even asked you, hey, have you made an impact? That's a lens that you can look through. Number three is scale. And of course, anytime that we're able to, honored and humbled to be able to make an impact for people, we just don't want it to be relegated to that group of people that we've made that impact for. We want everyone, as many people as possible, to be able to take advantage of what those things are. And so that's why scale is so important, because it allows us to see beyond our current endeavors and on a larger scale. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just absolutely, again, honored and humbled to be a part of Global EdTech Academy with Microsoft EDU and Q, because this is not only impact on a local, statewide, or nationwide level, this is literally impact on a global level. So what does it mean to have heart? We talked about this one before. Do not have time to go ahead and review everything about it, but this was in a previous series. What does it mean to have heart? I'm going to touch on just a couple of things real quick with that. We talked about what building blocks make up what heart is. We've talked about courage. What are your beliefs? Tenacity, some other things, right? If you've not had a chance to look at that episode, again, go to q.org/GETA recording, or just q.org/Microsoft, and you can access the replays of those sessions. Good stuff there. So question for you, what lens of the heart are we looking through? Now, this isn't a question really for you to answer, or that you have to answer in the chat. You can if you would like to, but this is really a question that is a rhetorical one, and it's one for us to think about. What lens are we looking through as we look through all of these things that are taking place? What lens are we looking through, right? Something for you to think about. What lens of the heart? What lens of the heart? Stand By Me and Real Empowerment shared this on the previous session entitled Stand By Me. And I just wanted to say this real quick about Stand By Me and Real Empowerment. Again, unfortunately, because of time constraints, I don't have time to go back into everything that was in that session, but we had a phenomenal time of sharing. But I do want to share this. Stand By Me and Real Empowerment, they are about changing our lens, right? You see this theme of lens that is a recurring theme, or a motif, if you will. That lens allows us to see opportunities where we can actively live out showing our support as leaders. Real leaders sharing and support the vision. We'll be talking a lot today about vision of those they lead. It becomes a collaborative vision. How many of you know that having a vision individually is great, but when you can have a collaborative vision with other people, it just goes to another level. And again, Global EdTech Academy, just to give you a very pertinent and real life example in real time, is a vision between Microsoft EDU and Q. What do they do? Real leaders, they also look for opportunities to partner with others. We should always be looking for opportunities to partner with others. Partner with them how? In their decision making and ownership. That is really what collaboration is about. And that's what real empowerment is about. Real leaders and vision. I wanted to share this too. Again, vision is a recurring theme throughout our time of sharing today. Real leadership is well beyond a title. It's about expanding the vision of others. If we're real leaders, part of what we do each day should be about elevating the voices of others and enlarging their vision. Vision paves the way for the extraordinary. Let me say that one again, because you may have missed that, right? If you're taking notes, that's a good one and a good spot to take notes at. Vision paves the way for the extraordinary. So then we must have vision if we're wanting to accomplish the extraordinary. I've had many managers, but fewer leaders. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you is real leaders have vision. And not only do they have vision, they share the vision with those in their organization. And they just don't share it once. It's not a one and done, right? This happens often. It becomes part of the daily lexicon. And once it becomes part of the daily lexicon, it becomes part of the DNA of that organization, whether that's on a team level, on a division level, on a school district level, on a regional level, state level, nationwide level, or beyond. It is really something that is totally essential to us going to the next level. Relevant, we've talked about this before, wanted to share that with you because as we're going through this, we do need to be relevant. Again, sharing pieces of the prior learning with you. Again, don't have time to go back and go in deep review about all of those pieces, but I did want to share this with you as well, because it is prior knowledge and prior sharing that we'll be bringing back into the learning today. Relevant, being relevant. It's about knowing our story and sharing our story with other people. The commonalities of our stories is part of what brings us together. And that transcends differences in ethnicities and cultures. It transcends that. That's one of the powers of storytelling, right? That's one of the things that storytelling enables us to do, is to bridge and transcend those what seemingly would be outward differences or divides. From darkness into the light, we are all aware of the challenges our nation and world are facing with matters of race. It's time to bring those dialogues from the darkness and out of the shadows and into the light. We have this opportunity to create and cultivate spaces where those dialogues can be held with dignity and with honor. And I wanted to share this with you because, there is really this great awakening that is happening within education, and really just even beyond education in all sectors around the globe. And that is really this impetus and this feeling of a moral mandate to say, you know what? We need to take these conversations and have these conversations on a bigger scale. But when we have these conversations, here's what we want to do. And I want to go ahead and direct your focus, if you would, temporarily to the last three words on this page, and that's dignity and honor. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that everyone is recognized with dignity, and to make sure that these dialogues and conversations happen in ways that honor individuals from darkness into the light. So when was a time that a leader took the opportunity to bring a topic from out of the shadows and into the light in a way that showed honor to all in the dialogue? If you have a story about that in a way that showed honor to all that were involved in the dialogue, go ahead and type that in the chat, if you would. When was a time that a leader took an opportunity to bring a topic from out of the shadows and into the light in a way that showed honor to all involved in the dialogue? I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look here at the chat. So happy to have you all with us today. What an honor. What an honor to have you all with us. As you're thinking about that, I will tell you about one time that was the case in my life many years ago. I had a leader, and we were sitting in a meeting, and a leader was addressing grading policies. And there were some teachers that really were not following grading policies. And it was something that maybe was kind of known as probably conversations that were happening in different pockets or different places within the campus. But that leader had the courage to say, you know what, let's bring this out into the open in a way that is honorable and in a way that is dignified. And let's unpack this. Let's talk about this. And that's so important. So I want you to think about that again as we go through this time of sharing today. When was a time that a leader took the opportunity to bring a topic from out of the shadows and into the light in a way that showed honor? Showing honor is good. We can bring things from the darkness or out of the shadows and into the light in terms of dialogue, but we always want to make sure that we do that with honor and dignity. So, what thing has to be present and established for people to feel at ease sharing about challenging topics and talking about matters of race and equity and other things like that? Sometimes those topics are topics that people don't necessarily feel very comfortable or at ease with really sharing, right? Maybe some people are in places where they say, you know what, Vernon, I'm comfortable with thinking about this. Or maybe, there's somebody else that I like to talk to about this, but sharing it in a bigger way or in a bigger forum or a bigger stage, I'm not necessarily really comfortable about doing, right? Of taking that step. And so when we talk about that, we have to think about what would make people feel more at ease. Because I want you to think about something, right? In real time. If people don't share, that doesn't mean that they still don't have those thoughts, emotions, and feelings. Let me say that again. If people choose not to share because they don't feel comfortable, it doesn't mean, okay, well, they didn't share, so then they don't have those feelings, thoughts, or emotions anymore. They still have those feelings, thoughts, and emotions. It's just if we don't create these spaces where people feel at ease, the person is left with their own ideas about how to unpack that. And certainly individuals can do that on their own, but like we've talked about before, and it too is a recurring theme throughout this time of sharing along with vision, is there's power when we come together. And we need to be able to do that. And so how do we come together and do that? It's through trust. And we need to establish trust. And establishing trust is so important. And we need to be able to let people know that, you know what, I value you as a human being. I value your thoughts, your sentiments, your emotions, your feelings as a human being. I value that. Before I see you for whatever title you have, whatever things that you've accomplished in your life, and certainly we give you kudos for that and we recognize that. But before any of that, we recognize you and we value you as a human being. The masterpiece of relevance, right? Because we've talked about relevance before, that we wish to paint must begin with a canvas and the paintbrush of trust. It must begin with that. So how can I build trust? How can I invite someone to tell me their story and as well share mine? Those of you that have been on sessions before with me, you know that I have shared, these three questions. I'm getting ready to go into those right now. And you'll see where it says the big three, let's go deeper. It says there, what are you working on right now that you're passionate about? Why is that meaningful to you? And what impact do you think it can have? And as well, what difference do you think it can make as it relates to the school or district's vision and mission, right? What do you think? What difference do you think it can make? Now, one of the reasons why the big three questions are powerful, right, is that they pave the way for really great dialogue. And I want you to think about this. When was the last time someone asked you, if not all three questions, when was the last time someone asked you even just one of the three questions? I want you to think about that. When is the last time someone even asked you something even remotely close to one of the three questions? So when we ask these questions, even just one of the questions, to those that are our colleagues that we work with, that we think together with, that we go through different experiences with, when we engage them in dialogue around these questions, that gives them the opportunity to share from their experiences and their heart and their thoughts about what's important to them. Because I'm going to share something with you. And if you're taking notes, again, this is a great place to take notes. People will do the extraordinary for what they feel is important to them. Let me say that one again. People will do the extraordinary for what they feel is important to them. These three questions help us to really take a glimpse into that world of what's important to them. So the big three, let's go deeper. You all have seen these before if you've been with me on previous sessions. Your credibility and experience is essential to establishing trust. Absolutely, it is. We do have to be able to take an accurate assessment because that demonstrates our understanding and competence. And then shining the light, we talked about that on the previous session with Stand By Me. We need to be shining the light on others and not really looking at how can we shine the light on ourselves, because shining the light on others is how we all come up together. And that's really the moral mandate that leaders should be living by, which is really this question: how can each leader every day shine the light on other people so that their voices are elevated, right? So the big three, let's go deeper real quick on this because I want to go ahead and move forward. Be real, authentic, competent, accurate, caring. Notice under each one of these is emotional intelligence, or EQ. It's a big thing. It's really important. And just wanted to share that with you. Those are some tools that you can go ahead and put in your toolbox. And really, after this video is over, you can turn around and start using those tools immediately to engage people in dialogue. They're great conversation starters and really things that can really build a bridge between you and maybe someone else that you've seen a lot in your organization, but maybe you've not really had the opportunity to sit down and get to know them deeper. The next one is really about what we're here to talk about today. And it says there, the person we can be totally authentic with can be the person that helps us to see the real root of an issue. And there you see a tree. And how many of you know that when a tree, like that tree there that is in the picture, when a tree is really fully grown, it has deep roots. And you see the question over there off to the side where I ask, are we dealing with the root of issues like implicit bias? Are we dealing with the root? And so there are a lot of things that are happening and going on, and people are trying to address those things. And I understand the approaches, right? But we must all ask within our circles and spheres of influence, we must all ask ourselves, are we dealing with the root issue, right? We're dealing with the root issue. In your world, who is that one person you can be totally authentic with? If you would, in the chat right now, if you would like to share, just go ahead and type in who is that person you can be totally authentic with. You certainly don't have to type the person's name, but if you'd like to say, family member, co-worker, best friend, parents, children, what have you, in your world, who is that one person you can be totally authentic with? Yes. Ray says, my husband and my brother. That is wonderful. James says, I would say family and my brother. That is awesome. I would tell you, for me, it's family. And I would tell you, I also, too, have some friends that are very, very, very close friends that I've known for many years. And they, too, are what we would consider to be family. And I can be totally authentic with them. And I wanted to share this with you, and it's very, very important. No matter where we're seated in our lives, right? So you see there's steps, and we could even be sitting down on those steps if we were in the location of where that picture was taken, that background. And I really like that background. No matter where we're seated in our lives, our one person can help us to not only have a seat, they can help us, right? How many of you have been out somewhere and a friend has said, hey, there's a seat right here, so we don't have to sit away or apart from each other. We can sit next to each other. They can not only help you get that seat, but they can help you to understand your ability to enact change from that very seat. Sometimes we may be looking to say, you know what, Vernon, I want to enact change. I want to bring about great change, but I think I need to be at another level to be able to do that. And although there is very much truth in being able to do that or enact greater things at higher levels, right? That's part of what higher levels bring about. There's also, too, something we have to be very cognizant about. And that is the fact that, you know what, right where we are right now, this second, how are we enacting change from the seat that we are currently sitting in? Our one person, quote unquote, the one, helps us to say, hey, you know what? Have you thought about this idea? Right where you are, right where you're seated, right with what you have the ability to enact, right with what you have the ability to influence. And so our one helps us to do that. This next one is really interesting, and I was very excited and am very excited to share this with you. And the real question is, who are you? And the follow up question to that is, what's your image? And I remember during a speaking engagement a couple of years ago, I was speaking to a group of people and I asked them, I said, who are you? And some of the audience said, well, my name is, or my name is this, or my name is that, right? And when I asked that question about who are you, I really wasn't asking to see what their name was. What I was asking to see was, how did they see themselves as individuals, as human beings? Did they see themselves beyond their name? What were they about? What were their passions? What were the things that they felt they were called to do? What was their purpose, right? And those of you that are computer or technology people, this may have even happened to you before in years past, where you've had a computer, a laptop, let's say it's a laptop, and for whatever reason, the hard drive has maybe had some issues, and you've taken it to tech support, and tech support has said, you know what, we need to go ahead and if this has happened to you, you're familiar with the term. They'll say we need to re-image that machine. And so the question there, what's your image, really helps us give some bearing to that. And it says there, just as a computer image governs what a computer does, right? Because a computer is hardware, but how many of you know that as hardware, a computer can't really do a lot, even if it's the best CPU, the best memory, the best monitor, the best of everything. It can't do a lot without software. And so that's that image. So just as a computer image governs what a computer does, our internal image does the same for us. If we are, pardon me, if we are to address issues of implicit bias, we must change our image. That is so powerful. I want you to think about that. So as you're involved in these spaces and have been involved in these spaces where people are saying, I'm going through different book studies, I'm looking at the different aspects of these things. I'm looking at, how can I enact change, Vernon? How can I, in this other space, how can I be, the catalyst for change here, the positive catalyst for change in this other space as we talk about implicit bias and race and ethnicity and all these other things. And I see a lot of people saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And those are good things, right? But the real question, right? Because we talked about 2 or 3 slides ago about getting to the root of an issue, where we saw that tree, that huge tree. And how many of you know that when a tree is big like that, it has deep roots? So we must always get to the root issue of a thing. And the root issue of a thing is, what is that internal image within us? And that's where the change starts. So again, if you've ever using kind of that looking through the lens of computer repair, if you've ever had a computer re-imaged, when that computer is given back to you, what does that computer know how to do? That computer knows how to operate from what? The image that was placed on that hard drive. That computer doesn't know how to operate in any other way. That computer operates based on the image that's placed on that hard drive. So if we want people extending that to us as human beings, if we would like to have people to behave differently in ways that exemplify and embody dignity and humor to all, dignity and honor to all, dignity and honor to all, if we want people to operate in those ways, what do we have to do? We've got to change the image. See, unless we change someone's image, someone can be doing all of the right things for all of the wrong reasons. Let me say that one again. If you're taking notes, this is a great place to take notes. Unless we change someone's internal image, because again, the internal image governs what we do. Unless we change that internal image, and we set about doing that first with ourselves as individuals, and then within our spheres of influence, and then Beyond that, the organizations and the places where we were involved in, unless we change that image, people will not change how they behave. So we've got to change the image. The real change comes from the change of that image. All right. So, what does interconnectedness mean to you? I'll go ahead and just say briefly, and I shared this slide before in the past session about Stand By Me. One of the reasons I shared it with Stand By Me is you see all of those different, those are nails there. You see all of those different nails are beside each other. And so we just don't stand alone. We don't stand in isolation. We stand beside each other. There are people that you stand beside in your life locally in your world that maybe are colleagues, that maybe are family members, that are friends. There are people that you stand beside virtually in this PLN. There are people that you stand beside in these sessions. We're standing beside each other, whether we're live in this session or you're watching this on replay. We're standing beside each other. This image goes beyond that. And so, what does this image do for us? This image shows with the thread and the string that is there that we're all interconnected. Once you realize the interconnectedness, you see and you understand how one positive change, being a change agent or a catalyst, can positively affect everyone else that is connected. Interconnectedness. Real change comes from real dialogue. You are the light that can illuminate the space and give hope for the future, but we must all be authentic, poignant, loving, and focused on taking action to advance the spaces we live in and influence. I really like this picture because each one of those strands is light. It's light energy. And I want you to think about this after this session is over today and going forward. What light energy do you bring to those different dialogues, whether it's at work, whether it's in a space with family, whether it's in a space with friends, whether it's in a space where maybe you're involved in one of the hobbies that you like to be involved in with others? What light are you bringing into that space? Just like all of those sources of light energy that you see on the picture, on the graphic. And understand that each one of those sources of light energy is the potential for what? It's the potential for real change. But real change comes from what? Real dialogue. You have the opportunity to be that light and to illuminate that space. We must have that if we are going to address issues of equity, implicit bias, and other matters of race. We must have that. Our one person helps us. They help us. What do they help us to do? They help us to see that, you know what? Hey, you're light. You're light energy. What light can you bring to situations that maybe are dim, situations that are maybe dark? You are that light. You are, as a result, the real change that can happen. And real change comes from real dialogue. So what chapters are we writing in the book of our experiences in 2020 and beyond? What chapters are we writing in the book of our experiences? If you would, in the chat, take a second and think about what chapters are we writing in the book of our experiences in 2020 and beyond. I will tell you one chapter that we are all writing, and that is the shifting of paradigms. That is one of the chapters. If we were writing a book based on our experiences of 2020, one would be the shifting of paradigms. So there in the chat, if you would just go ahead and drop in, if we were all writing a book collaboratively together and we were writing chapters, kind of a book outline, right? If we were getting ready to write a book, what will be the names of some of those chapters in that book for 2020 and beyond? Really, really something that's introspective. This is a question, by the way, if you would like to go ahead and take this and bring this back or take that back to the spaces where you're able to go ahead and have a voice with others and share this with them. What chapters are we writing? I will tell you another chapter that we're writing that could be a possible chapter title. And we've talked about it already, right? There are a few of them. Times of trust. Times of trust. And Monique says health is wealth. Absolutely. How many of you know that right now, during especially this time of literally a global pandemic, that health is so critical? Health is the most precious of things. Health is wealth. That would be one of the chapters that we could write in this book. That would be the book of 2020 and beyond. Ray says adaptability, not a very creative title, though. Absolutely, it is. And I'm going to politely disagree with you there. And I'm going to not only politely disagree with you, I'm going to affirm you for saying that and go above and beyond that and say this. Not only kudos for saying that and for sharing that, but think about that word. I want us to all take a second to stop here and think about that. Adaptability. How do we adapt? Because I said a shifting of paradigms, right? If we're shifting paradigms and we're shifting with those paradigms, inherently, what is involved in shifting with paradigms? We're adapting in real time. So no, that is a great topic. I really like that. Would be a great chapter if we were writing a book for 2020 and beyond. I like what M. Monique Shaw said as well, and that is health as well. That is another one, right? So think about those chapters: shifting of paradigms, adaptability, health as wealth. That is a core title. Yes, absolutely. It is in Monique Shaw. I share that with you. Adaptability has made us learn quick on our feet and become creative. Absolutely, it has. And I will tell you this: those and this is where you really find out what people have in their wheelhouse, right? Someone asked me yesterday. They said, "Well, what does wheelhouse mean?" And I like using that term a lot. It's used in business quite a bit. And part of my background is in business. I was in business before I ever got into education and later on educational leadership. Is your wheelhouse is really the core of what your skill sets are, your specialties. And so those that maybe had this skill set of adaptability and being able to adapt to change and beyond that shift paradigms and do that successfully, maybe that's been kind of hidden or maybe not at the forefront where other people knew that, because times were, relatively speaking, before in the past, times were relatively, quote unquote, stable, right? We weren't necessarily in a situation where we had to really change things. I often say that this global pandemic has forced people to really think about educational reform, where before in the past, they just really kind of said, okay, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate the ideas. We'll think about it, which was really kind of just saying, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of push that off to the side. And they give you this indefinite time frame and not really come back and do anything. But this pandemic has really forced people to do that. It's forced them to shift and it's forced them to adapt. So that is huge. Yes, Race is true. My coworkers were afraid of technology, embraced it because they have no choice and they were good at it. Isn't that wonderful? Absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys so much for sharing here in the chat as I look at this. These are the rich dialogues. And I just want to say this real quick before I get to that point about coworkers embracing technology. What would our educational world be like if every time we came together, whether it was a staff meeting, professional development, whatever the spaces were, what would it be like if every single time we came together, we had rich dialogues like this? Like, what would that be like? That would be phenomenal. And these rich dialogues are what move us forward, right? Didn't we just say that a couple of slides ago? Real change comes from real dialogue. This is real dialogue. Just absolutely love that. And how many of you know that these skill sets that have been dormant, people haven't really known about them? A situation happens, and all of the sudden, those skill sets that were dormant, that maybe people didn't value, all of the sudden, guess what? They become not only valuable, they become extremely valuable. And that's why I said earlier at the beginning, and if you joined us and maybe missed that, that's okay. You can go back and you can look at the session on replay. And if you're here with us live, thank you so much for being here with us live. Whether you were here at the start or came in a little bit later, just thank you and welcome to you and thank you for being here with us. If you're watching on replay, thank you as well. I was telling you that one idea can be a game changer. And you know what the one idea might be for people? And thank you so much, Ray, for sharing. The one idea might be adaptability. Someone may say, you know what, Vernon, you shared a lot of great stuff. For me, my one thing after this session is adaptability. How can I change? For someone else that may say, you know what, I love health as wealth. This is confirmation for me that, you know what, Vernon, I really didn't come into this session wanting to hear about that. I didn't come into this session expecting that. Not that anyone knew maybe some things that I was thinking about that around my health, but hearing health is wealth was my confirmation. I just got the confirmation I needed to move forward and focus on my health. Whether that's here live in the session or whether that's on the replay, you just got what you needed to get there. Wonderful. Love this rich dialogue. Let me go ahead and see what James here says. James says, I would also say that people having to rely on others to support remote learning. Absolutely the case. And how many of you know that? And this is part of what we would call, real global learning skills, right? And part of being able to be an effective part of the global workforce is this. If you don't have the skill sets, who do you know who to go to that does have it? Do you know who to go to? And that's where that interconnectedness, because we talked about that before in a slightly different context. But again, taking that prior sharing just a few slides ago and bringing that back into this context on this slide, that's where the interconnectedness is so important. Because if maybe I don't know something about adaptability, but I say, you know what, Ray does, let me connect with Ray. Ray, give me some light on this. Give me some insight. Or I say, well, you know what, maybe I'm looking to go ahead and maybe I'm in excellent health, but I want to take my health up to even more of an excellent status. Maybe I reach out to Monique Shaw, or I say, you know what, James says remote learning. Maybe I'm looking to go ahead and understand the dynamics, because how many of you know you can learn a lot about a lot of different platforms that are out there, and we're very grateful for the different and variety of platforms that are out there. But how many of you know you need to understand the concepts of how human beings interact with those platforms and how they interact with each other? Maybe I go to James and say, James, shed some light on this for me. Talk to me about how all of this looks. How does it sound? How do all of these pieces of the puzzle work together? And that's that interconnectedness. Dormant skill set. Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead and use that, because I'm telling you right now, there are people that have had dormant skill sets. They've just they've been there, but no one's really paid attention to them. COVID-19 happened, and all of a sudden, those skill sets became of great value. And I want to share this with you. And there's some other things I want to go ahead and share with you as we go forward. So I do want to go ahead and be cognizant of time, but I would be remiss if I didn't say this before we go forward. And it's very important. One situation, one instance can take you from someone that maybe was not looked at as having much relevancy or much value or potential solutions on a situation to being the top person that not only provides the ideas, but provides the direction on how to use the ideas and blazes a trail forward where there was no trail before. I want to say that. And we're living in that right now. And again, such a wonderful, rich dialogue. What chapters are we writing in the book of our experiences in 2020 and beyond? Thank you so much, Monique Shaw. Love that. Thank you. What does this picture say to you? What feelings and emotions does it evoke in your heart? We won't, really take time to address this or talk about this now, because I do want to go ahead and, as we come to a close here, share some other things real quick. But I really like this picture, because you know what it says to me is that we have to take time daily to reflect. We have to take time daily. If you're able to be in a scenic place where that is, and be on the top of a mountain or a cliff and just stare into space and look at all of the stars and the galaxy and everything else beyond, that's wonderful. We do need to take time daily to reflect and to really place ourselves in a position where we can get that great understanding through times of silence. We need that. When we, from the airplane view, look at the change we're creating, what do we see? And this is really a rhetorical question. We don't have time to really go into it deeper, but I do want to leave you with this question, as well as the many other questions, to really ask yourself this. Once you get deep into the work, you say, you know what, Vernon, Man, I'm deep into implicit bias. We're working together as a team and as groups of people. We're working deep on implicit bias, and we're working on issues of equity and what can we do to bring about effective change and substantive change and real change. You can get really deep in that work every once in a while, and periodically you need to take a step or two back and look at that from the airplane view and really ask yourself, almost as if you're looking at everything that's happening, the change you're trying to create from a third person view, and ask yourselves this question: what do we see? What do we see? Do I see that everything's going well? Do I see that maybe there's some refinements that we need to make? Do I see that, you know what, there aren't refinements that we need to make? We just need to revamp the whole system. What do we see? And that's great learning for you to go ahead and take back to your spaces as well, especially when you're involved in this really intensive work cognitively, and work also too that has very deep roots with emotions and people sharing their emotions and thoughts and feelings. Every once in a while, periodically, take that step back and ask everybody, say, hey, can we take a look at the airplane view from a second? Some people say 30,000 feet up in the air. What is that view? And I really like this one and I like visuals a lot, because we're looking out through that airplane window. What do we see from above? Great things are possible when we come together. The fusion is where the synergy is. When you start taking the steps to discuss things like implicit bias and equity, and to do that again with dignity and with honor, and we tell our stories, we use relevance, we build trust, and we start telling our stories and sharing our stories and exchanging our stories. When we come together, you see those two things coming together, there's a fusion that happens. And let me tell you right now, when that fusion happens and people come together in ways that are respectful, ways that are dignified, ways that exemplify honor and embody honor, there's a synergy there, folks. And if anyone tells you, hey, man, I'm looking to go ahead and really create this environment of synergy, one of the things you need to be thinking to yourself, and you may not only just think it to yourself, you may want to ask them this question depending upon the situation. You know that situation best, use your professional judgment. But one of the things you may want to ask them is this: if we're looking at synergy, what are all of the different spaces and opportunities for us to come together? Very, very, very powerful. We bloom when we live in and operate in environments that have these elements. We bloom. We absolutely bloom. And if you're a leader that has the ability to really change and be a decision maker in the environment that you're responsible for, I want you to think about this. And there are many people that have spoken ad nauseum about climate and culture within the business of education, business, and beyond. So certainly I'm not here to go ahead and discuss all of that here in this session, but I will say this: when we look at these elements that we've talked about today and we put those into play and we start to walk down that road, we can create places for people to bloom, including ourselves. It may seem like a maze sometimes. I know you may say, like, Mr. Wright, Vernon, man, it seems like I'm just walking into walls. I'm having to turn around and maybe try a different direction. It may seem like a maze. It may, but I am here to tell you there's a path forward. And I so want to say thank you all for being part of that path forward, for being the catalyst, for being agents of change. So now what does this look like? How do I take this back? What is my role? What do I do? I want to share this with you. We're walking down this path together. Substantive change begins with taking the first step. That's the way it starts. And there's some people that may say, but you know what, I'm scared to take the first step. And that's when you say to them, you know what, you're not taking the first step alone. We're with you. Let's walk together. How powerful is that? If you're a leader, to say that to someone, even if you say, well, you know, Vernon, I don't see myself as a leader. If you have influence, you're a leader. To quote John C. Maxwell, the great John C. Maxwell. To say to someone else, let's walk together. To a parent that doesn't understand, that feels like the system is against them, let's walk together. To a student who feels like, you know what, I've tried everything, I'm frustrated, school just doesn't work for me, let's walk together. To a teacher who says to their supervisor, I don't know if this is working for me, I feel so frustrated, I don't know what to do, let's walk together. And as we come together across ethnicities and across different paths, from different backgrounds, I say this: let's walk together. Let's take the first step. There are many pieces to leadership and influence. Aligning those pieces is in part making sure that we walk what we talk. There are a lot of people walking, and a lot of people talking, but with people that are talking, is that what they're walking? Let me say that again. There are a lot of people that are talking, but is that what they are walking? So as we move forward, we talked about walking together. As we're walking, what we're walking, is that what we are talking? Very powerful. Real leaders during these days globally, I shared this before in the last session about Stand By Me. I want to share it with you again. Real leaders just check on people. They don't reach out to people to say, hey, I need this from you. Hey, I need this. It has this deadline of this date. This is due. Sorry that I'm telling you this late. It's due like by 4 p.m. today. And maybe they knew for like a week or 2 or 3 days, but they didn't tell you. Or I need this, or I need that. They just say, you know what? I'm not calling you or reaching out to you because I need anything. I'm just reaching out to you because I want to check on you. I value you as a human being. That's powerful. Let me say this right now. Some of you that are watching this, whether you're here in the session live or you're watching this on replay, I feel very compelled to say this. There's someone that you may say, you know what, Vernon, there's someone that's been on my mind to go ahead and reach out to and just check on them. This is your confirmation. Here's your invitation to go ahead and do that and just reach out to someone and watch how you make someone's day. When you say, you know what, I'm not coming to ask you for anything. I'm just reaching out to you to check on you to see how you are. Real leaders do that. That's what real leaders do. So the next time somebody tells you they're a real leader, think to yourself, or you can even ask them, when's the last time you reached out to somebody just to check on them? Not because of a deadline or because of an action item, but just to check on them. Bottom line, you guys know that I like to go ahead and end the sessions like this. Everyone should have that one person they can be authentic with that can help them unpack and progress. Just one idea can be the game changer that you've been waiting for. Leverage all of the elements, all of them, from previous sessions in the Reflections of a Leader series as you continue your walk down the path. Use the big 3 questions to open up dialogues and to create safe spaces. It has been my honor and my pleasure. Again, I am Vernon Wright, @ the Right Leader on Twitter and social media. Thank you so much. If what has been shared with you today has been impactful, if it's resonated with you, if you say, you know what, Vernon, I not only got my one idea, I got several ideas from the session today. It meant so much for me. It gave me clarity. It was an epiphany for me. If it was of assistance to you and you feel like you're compelled to share out, would love to have you tag me on that. And as well, go ahead and use the hashtags Microsoft EDU, hashtag GETA, hashtag WeAreQ. Of course, again, as well, if you would like to learn more about the Global Ed Tech sessions, not only from me, but from the fabulous group of speakers that I am honored and privileged to work alongside as part of this endeavor and this project, go to q.org/Microsoft. You see the hyperlink there. As well, if you would like to watch session replays, if you'd like to say, you know what, man, Vernon, this was my first time being in this session. This was really, really good. I would like to go back and watch the other parts, the other installments, the other episodes, the other sessions that are part of the Reflection of a Leader series. The way to do that is go to q.org/GETA recording. It has been my honor and my pleasure to be with you all today. I am so humbled. I'm so honored. You just don't know. But I just want to share that with you. And as I look here at the chat, navigating change effectively, yes. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you. Monique Shaw, thank you so much. Thank you for the follow. Yes, you guys follow me. I'll follow you back. Thank you so much. I'm so honored. So honored. Thank you guys so much. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. And I'm going to be having another session coming up, office hours. I believe that's tomorrow. I will need to go ahead and double check the schedule, but I will put that out on Twitter, where it's not a session, office hours. If you're not familiar with how that works, office hours give you the opportunity to say, you know what, Vernon, I just want to talk to you about different parts of the session, but it's not a structured session format. I really call it this, the opportunity to have chill dialogue and to really experience that vibe that comes from rich dialogue. And so if you would like to be a part of that, I'll be posting that on Twitter about when my office hours are. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I will go ahead and stop the recording here just so honor